Welcome to Overtime the Podcast, a show dedicated to all things watches, with a special love for Microbrands and their affordable range. I'm your host Praka, and some of you might know me as Kinda Average Watches. Join me as we explore new releases, share tips on building your collection, and put in some overtime with hands-on reviews of the latest watches. Whether you're a bit of a pro or you're just getting into the hobby, this podcast will keep you entertained with great stories from the people in the industry, casual conversations, and guest hosts who bring their own unique perspectives. Let's get started. Welcome to Overtime the Podcast, proudly sponsored by Watchpoint. Oh man, I sound incredibly excited, to open today's podcast because we've had lots of technical issues starting this one up, haven't we, James?
Lots of technical issues, and you worded that better than what you did just prior to starting recording because you gave another excited shout, which is probably not as appropriate for a recording.
No, probably not. I think I might have dropped that once or twice in the pod. Just didn't do it today. So how's it going, James?
I'm good. I'm a little bit sore today. I've been not working out, but working out by helping a friend move house, doing him a big favor, but it was a bigger job than expected. So it was nice to be a little bit physical, but I'm feeling it today. How about yourself? I have heard you've had a big day as well.
Yeah, huge day at work. Yeah, I'm just glad that we have a recording today. Let's just put it that way. It's nice to be able to...
We can both go into our happy place into watches.
That's right. I want to talk watches. I want to have fun. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen today. So for those watching the video of this, you would see there's a third person in the lobby and also as from the title as well. So hello and welcome to the podcast. Ong, how are you going?
Hey, Praka. Hey, James. All's going well. Yeah. How about you guys? Sounds like you had a funny week, funny day.
You could say that.
Very much so. We're very excited to have you on board with the podcast. We've been chatting for what feels like ages now, so it's finally nice to actually physically sort of visually meet anyway and have a chat.
That's right. It's always a pleasure to be able to finally connect and have you on the pod. So, for those who don't know, so we are speaking with Ong, who is the brand owner of Yuen Watches. Yuen Watches is a brand new brand that is launched only just recently, and we've had the pleasure to come across Ong's brand and his watches, and it just so happens to be that we decided, hey, why not? Let's have a podcast app as well. So I'm so glad that you've decided to join us. So before we crack on and ask you all the fun questions, we'll start with you first, Ong. What's on your wrist?
What's on my wrist? Well, funny that you mentioned. I've got this prototype watch from this new Microbrand. Not sure how much you can see, but this is the Ember. So this was a prototype of the Y-01. It's a prototype dial. We'll get into the process a bit more, but essentially these dials went through a lot of color revisions, and this is one of the ones that never really made it to market, didn't really make the final cut. This is a bit of a blood orange. But yeah, aside from that, it's, because it sits really well on the wrist, it's almost as if it's designed exactly for my wrist. Between the size, the lug to lugs, the general proportions.
Fantastic. I had no doubt that you'd be wearing one of your watches for the episode. And it's nice to see a prototype version, not quite the final color as well. It's nice to see something unique like that. James, what's on your wrist, mate?
Well, I'm doubling up again today. I wasn't specifically thinking about it, but I wanted to. I'm wearing my Minase 5-window, which is one of my favorite watches of all time. And on the other hand, I'm representing with the US Australian Microbrand and my Houtman Pilbara Rock, both watches that I just adore, and I adore the backstories of it. And I thought, since we're talking to somebody who's launched a watch, has a backstory and is all excited about watches, might wear two that I'm excited about having in my collection at the moment.
Fantastic. Great picks for today.
And what are you wearing?
I am wearing the Smith's PRS 59 WWW field watch. I've been in the market for a field watch for a while, so I'm glad to have picked this up. But yeah, not too long ago, actually. So yeah, just on this sort of Marine National style strap. I think it works pretty well. So
Good to see it's getting some wear. I've been seeing a few pictures posted of you wearing it, which is nice.
yeah, no, I'm glad too. And yeah, it's always, like I said, it's not nice to have a small field watch. I think it should be in everyone's collection.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, let's get into it. So before we get into super details, give us a bit of a spiel about you. You know, how you got into watches, and sort of, I guess, what made you come to this start of this journey, which is, I guess, starting your own watch brand.
I am a mechanical engineer by training. So by default, I am, I have a natural interest in, any machines of any size, I guess, small, large, and watches just happen to fall into that category. I got into micros and small indies maybe 2 years ago, and when I say got into, I mean full-fledged, joined all the watch groups, started like reading everything I could find. And it was at this time and even till today, I have the collective philosophy where I know I like pretty things, pretty watches, pretty dials, pretty design, case design, and everything, and as a result, the collection very much, it's very varied in terms of color, in terms of materials used. And I guess that kind of segues into uh, why I started the brand. Because when I collect like that, when anyone collects in a fashion where you're looking for unique colors, materials, designs, you start to notice that, hmm, there there isn't really everything you really want on the market. Maybe there's something that gets you, 70-80% of the way there, but it just doesn't make that final 20% to, get you off the fence. And being someone who is familiar with using CAD software, I also dabble in graphic design. I had the same daydreams as anyone would, and I started visualizing with CAD and just regular drawings. And that started pretty much as a creative outlet, something fun to do in my free time. But then that kind of takes us back to, I joined all these communities. I met a lot of brand owners. I made friends with quite a few of them, the ones that, put up with me. And then, yeah, from there, I started asking, I know some things I would execute a certain way. I have some ideas. Can I maybe make a one-off? That's where it first started. Can I make a one-off? And then I realized how much that would cost. And I was like, okay, if everyone who wants to make something of a higher quality, they want an MOQ, maybe I could just make a small batch for friends. And then I see the MOQ numbers. I'm like, right, let's scratch that. I don't have that many friends for starters. But yeah, and that's kind of how it spawned, with the help, the advice, the encouragement from people in the community. That's how Yuen came about. I just wanted to make stuff to fill my collection, fill gaps in the market, address gaps in the market. And as a result, you just end up with stuff that's unique, stuff that's just different, not just for the sake of being different. There's a clear goal to what it's supposed to do. And I think with my debut collection with the Y-01, I think I've achieved just that.
It's amazing. I think a lot of people, eventually they might think like that and go, yeah, it'd be good to maybe, try and do something on my own, but to actually get into it and execute what you've done so far already, as in the debut model, has just, we'll get into where it is and what stage it is, but it is amazing to see that that's where you started from. Kind of want to go into a little bit about, you said you started collecting microbrands around 2 years ago. Before you started collecting microbrands, did you also have watches before then? Like, was there any, mainstream brands in your collection?
That is a good question. I would say the most straightforward answer would be no. I don't think I collected so much as just had watches lying around. Before that, most of my budget went to clothes, shoes, other things. I never really was into watches because at the time, all I knew were the big brands and everything, all of those just felt out of reach. And don't get me wrong, I did still have, grails. I still have a list. I think it's somewhere on my phone. I still have a list of grail watches from like maybe 10 years ago. But yeah, as a result of having other interests and just not knowing about micros and indies, which are a lot more accessible. It just never happened.
I think it's interesting that you say you're really drawn to the sort of pretty watches because when I see your design, I think gorgeous watches. So I think definitely you sort of achieved that sort of mark. I'd really like to know, like when you started to think I'm going to make a watch for myself, what sort of design did you have in your head? Was that similar to what ended up, or has there been sort of evolutions from that initial thought of I want to make one for myself versus what's coming out now in this manner?
Sort of. I think for me, as you quite rightly brought up, I have a few gaps in my collection that I want to fill. The reason I chose this specific idea to pursue for my first one was mosaic MOP just happened to be something that number one had my attention for probably the longest time relative to the other ideas I had. Um, there's also the coincidental mother of pearl. The material is associated with a new beginning. It's the purity and a bunch of stuff like that. So I think there wasn't so much a fixed train of thought behind that. It's more that um, it happened to be one of the materials I wanted to do. You know, yeah, I think things just aligned the way they did, and that's how we ended up with this one. It very well could have been anything else, if I'm being honest.
Well, I'm glad it didn't because I really like what you brought out.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Look, now that we've sort of touched upon the dial, obviously, folks will have all the links in the show notes to the Yuen, the watch, the Y-01, have all the photos and everything, etc., as well up on social media when it does get released. But let's talk about the dial first and foremost, which is, I'm going to say, the star of the show, but that's only from afar. Once you get closer, of course, there's many different aspects of the watch that definitely stand out. But let's talk about the dial. Talking about mother of pearl, we're talking about a nice fumé finish as well, but also you've got these intricate sort of, I'm not sure how you call this pattern on the, you can explain that in a second. It's like a marquetry. Is that what you call it? I don't know how to say it properly.
Yeah, I mean, I would just call them tiles. There's no fancy
Tiles.
way to say it. The process of laying them down, yeah, you can call that marquetry because technically it is still an artisan putting pieces of something together to create a larger picture, larger thing. So yeah, marquetry still applies.
So the dial itself is, so correct. Forgive my ignorance. So it's multiple smaller sections that makes up the pattern, the tiled pattern.
But yeah, actually, let me grab one of them so that I can do a show and tell. But one line, well, I've got a couple lying on here. Actually, let's see how all this shows up quite well. Hold on,
Okay,
let me
so
align this.
for folks that are listening and not watching the video, so Ong is just showing us a dial on it by itself. It's a beautiful green fumé dial.
Yeah.
Sort of, they
So
remind me of those interlocking geometric patterns. It's a bit sometimes. It reminds me of that sort of 1920s sort of floors in big hotels, how those sort of align together a little bit. That sort of that interlocking pattern. That's obviously not what it looks like, but that's sort of what it reminds me of in my mind. That sort of replicating geometric pattern.
yeah, I think geometric pattern, isometric cubes is what people see first. But I will get into that like a bit more. So I'm gonna hold this with my left hand so my right arm doesn't die while I talk about this. Okay, but yeah, when people refer to mosaic mother of pearl or mother of pearl marquetry, it's essentially, I think I'll describe the process. Maybe that's easier to understand. Essentially, you grab a bunch of abalone shells or oyster shells, of the sort you just have seafood and it's what you're left with. On the inside of them, they have an iridescent layer that's referred to as a nacre or mother of pearl, and we essentially use that material, we machine it down into discs. And then after that, you cut it up, you can polish it, you can dye it, whatever you want to do. Specifically for my dials, we polish it first. We apply a dye, so whatever color, or you have 6 colors, so whatever color we want. And then we cut it up using a CNC machine, essentially a laser, into these small diamond tiles that you can see on here. And what happens next is a small team of artisans is then using tweezers to lay each of these tiles, mother of pearl dowels, onto a brass backplate. So if I just turn this around here, this is a brass backplate. And if I turn it on its side here, this totals zero 0.8 millimeters thick. 0.4 of that is the backplate, 0.4 of that is the mother of pearl. So it's all extremely, well, delicate. It's not as delicate as some would have you think. For example, I just bring all of these dials, prototype dials to meetups and stuff, and people just kind of throw them around. It's fine. uh, yeah, so no cracks so far. But yeah, as a result, you put all the tiles onto the back plate, and then it's sealed using an adhesive, and then everything else comes in. So on my dial, if I just go closer, I don't know if that focuses, but we've also got applied indices. We've got this sort of silvering on the outer edge before the pad printed minute track. That's also applied. So all of that is highly polished and domed as well. That's a less apparent feature, but it's a lot of work going into that. And then we, of course, have the hands, which are, oh no, my watch is here. And then we have the hands, I'm just going to take this off, that do this. So it's still angular, still domed, highly polished. And that makes up the dial.
That's amazing.
So when you look at the sort of chapter ring and the markers, it looks like there's like a full solid chapter ring, but when you look closer, it's actually almost applied chapter ring and applied markers. So there's little segments which break up the design and help play with the mother of pearl behind as well.
I think it's a bit cliche for me to say, but it's definitely more than what you first glance when you get in close and have a look at the details on the dial. It's blows my mind. And I love the indices as well. Obviously it's like a diamond shaped, and then you've got the 12, 3, 6 and 9, which is slightly bigger than the others. And I do like the 8 o'clock is not the same as the others. Now tell us the story about that.
Nah, absolutely. Good eye as well. Not many people notice the differentiation in sizes. The Y, it's quite simple. It's sort of a cultural nod to my Chinese heritage. Y is at 8 o'clock because the number 8 sounds like the Chinese word for prosperity, and specifically the Cantonese dialect. And yeah, that's pretty much why I have a Y at the 8. And it's also because I did experiment with, why elsewhere, because I did want to have, minimalist branding, especially for pretty dials. I personally don't like the standard thing of just putting a logo and text in the middle of the dial. I feel it's not really necessary personally. It's like the Moses Streamliner, the sterile ones. I feel like you see it and you know what it is. You don't need a big chunky logo and text right in the middle, telling you what it is. You just know. It's like Ming as well, minimalist design. You kind of spot it, and then yeah, you just figure out what it is just from a glance.
Yeah, it definitely would disrupt this dial if you had something overlaying on top of it. So it's nice to have the branding sort of around the edge, so it's present, but it's not dominating the design.
Yeah, I think for me, it's also because I did mention earlier, mosaic MOP, it's not something new, There's definitely been mosaic MOP dials done before by a few other brands. And my main issue was, well, most of them were divers. So that's now because I'm of my 50, 60 plus watches, none of them are divers. So I think that says a lot about my stance on divers. And then yeah, the ones that were dress watches, maybe I can't remember what the issue was. I think it was a Zealous Nova. I think that used a 7001 and it was just straight up out of my budget. So yeah, this was kind of the what I landed with. We did talk about the technicals, right? How the dial is made and everything. The why it was made, pun intended, is also something significant to me or how it came about, I guess. Because James, I think you mentioned the pattern, geometric pattern, isometric cubes. Actually, that's not the first thing that came to my mind when I was designing it. So when I knew I wanted to do mosaic MOP, I did start design from the dial. And this was actually is a pattern I found that was a repeating Y pattern. If you ignore the space and you look at just the lines, it's a bunch of Ys put together.
It's one of those ones where if you concentrate on one side, it looks at something. Then if you concentrate on the other side, then you see something else. It's that sort of back and forth depending on what.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. That is cool.
And there was a time like where I was just kind of stuck, thinking about what kind of pattern I could do because I knew I wanted to do something repeating Ys, and I was just doing a bunch of sketches. This exact pattern didn't land until like one day, I was out for lunch with some friends, and then basically we parked at a mall, and then we walked down to this great nasi lemak place, right? For those unaware, nasi lemak is essentially a national dish over here. It's like coconut milk rice, chili paste from its shrimp, with like hella good fried chicken,
Man, you can't be telling me this at this time of the night, man. I'm getting hungry. Yeah. This is one of my favorites. Anyway, sorry, go on.
But basically, after lunch, we went back up to the car park, and we had to walk through the mall to get to the parking area. And I looked down at my feet, and the mall floor tiling was exactly this pattern, with the Ys and all that. I was like, hold on a second, this is exactly the problem I'm trying to solve. So it was just a nice little coincidence how I stumbled upon this pattern.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and then the rest of the dog just fell in place after that, the hands, Praka, you mentioned the diamond indices. All of that is to complement the diamond tiles that are a result of the repeating white pattern. And everything is slightly domed just to give it a bit of visual depth, and the double dome crystal as well. So it all came together quite nicely, I'll say.
Nasi lemak was the thing that brought it all together. It's made my day. It's made my day. All right. We talked about how beautiful you like your watches, and clearly it is visually very evident this watch is absolutely stunning. But let's just have a little look at the other things around it as well. Because if I recall correctly, when we initially joined your WhatsApp group, when James added me to it and said, hey, check this out, this is incredible, you need to know about this watch. And I distinctly remember you talked about how you wanted it to be water resistant to a certain level so that you can actually use it for, things and not just be this pretty thing on your wrist. It is 100-meter water resistant. So tell me where you sort of landed on that. I mean, you wanted it to be a beautiful watch, a dressy watch, but also a Garter type watch?
Yeah. So that, I'll be honest, that wasn't really part of the plan. From the start, I don't think. For me, I just kind of figured, once I started looking beyond the design, I started looking at, okay, this is a first watch. I'm likely going to have people in my life who want to support my first watch and, buy it. A lot of them aren't collectors like we are, they live real lives. They touch grass every day. I knew that they would probably want something practical because they probably wouldn't have that many watches to rotate through, right? It's part of why I chose an automatic movement. It's part of why I chose the 1080M water resistance. It's just because it's something that people can, like you said, gather, right? Something that people can just put on and use it for everyday life, I guess. Something thin, something slim, easy to service, and just built to live life with you.
I like that. And and the thinness and easy to service component comes from the Miyota 9039, which I think, we've harped on about this movement and how fantastic it is. Also, it allows you to have the watch as thin as it is. So I just want to read out some of the specs so that people are aware. So we're talking about a 39mm case, 46mm lug to lug, a case thickness of 9.9 millimeters, which is super thin. Is that the overall thickness?
That is overall, yeah. I don't believe in that bullshit with the case only excluding crystal.
I like it. But yeah, under 10 mil thick.
With a double dome sapphire, which is, very nice.
Yeah, that's great. And then, a 20 mil lug width, which is awesome. I love seeing 20 mil lug width on a watch. It just makes me happy. someone with so many straps. I mean, like you mentioned, you've designed it for yourself, right? On what you would like to wear and how you, I'm guessing you have plenty of 20 mil straps as well. And there is a reason why you rotate
Very
through them.
much so, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the various colors or the various choices of colors. Like, how did you land on these? I think I had my clear favorite. Well, I thought I did, and then it changed. Just because you've made it too hard. You've made it too hard. But how did you get to choosing what you chose?
I'll be quite honest, there wasn't much of a process. First, I looked at the material. I already knew what was out there. There were a few colors that I liked, a few colors that I thought were eh. Then I thought, this is my first watch. I like bright colors. What bright colors would I like to see on this material? I don't know. I'm fairly certain I didn't set out to have 6 of these. I think I just kept going on and let's start from the first one. The first one that we officially announced was the purple. That was the prototype that was completed first. Purple, I think, for most of last year was just the color of the year. Dragging on to this year, I think people are still very much in the market for purples. So that's one I wanted to do because at the time I didn't really have any purple watches. Black or gray / white / the multicolor. That one was meant to be the sort of neutral color. It's like the low key color. Most angles it just seems like a regular watch, and then you put a bit of light on it, and all the rainbow iridescence just kind of pops out. So I knew how the material reacted when it was that kind of color, and that was one I definitely wanted to have. Blue, I think you gotta have a blue watch, mainly because it's another safe color. It's like black and white. It's just safe. And this specific blue is also a favorite of my dad's. I knew that he would want to be supporting my first watch as well. And it was just a natural inclusion. Red and green, I think those two come together. This was when Regina, my partner, and I, we went to, we go to a few watch events, and this was at a boutique that carried Moser. And we saw the enamel, like the fume enamels that they had for the streamliner. And they had a green and a red there, I think, in stock. And that's kind of what put me on those two colors. It's just strong, bold, vibrant. And with the fume, it was just absolutely gorgeous. And the orange was interesting. Even now, after it's been done, it's probably gone through the most revisions. It definitely has gone through most revisions. I think 3 or 4 revisions now. And it's just such a hard color to get right. I definitely could have called it a day after the second one, but in my head, I'm thinking an orange that's slightly yellow, slightly red. It's an even yellow and red distribution. Yeah, it's just been impossible to get right, I'll be honest. But with this last one, I think I'm happy. I think I'm happy where we've come, and I think that just about sums up where the colors are. There's no inspiration from anything or anything in my life or anything like the elements or something. Some people ask that.
You didn't get
It's just
inspired
the
by the
colors, how it
mountains
went.
at the end of your house or the river
Or the bark
stream
on the
that's running
trees
down?
out the front of in the front yard.
No, it's just pretty colors, man. It's not that deep.
If you're into microbrands, indies, or vintage watches, you need to check out Watchpoint. Located in the heart of Melbourne, Watchpoint is more than a storefront. It's a true hub for the community. Get hands-on with brands like HZ, Formex, Second Hour, Lima, Vario, RZE, and Balzel. Plus, through their partnership with Time Only, you can now explore German indies from Zinn, Hanhart, Damasco, and Müller in person. Not in Melbourne? No worries. Head to watchpoint.com.au to discover new releases, stay informed with editorials, and find your next buying guide. So stop by Shop 202, Level 2, 220 Collins Street in the Manchester Unity Building to find your next timepiece. It's not that deep. I like it. I think we'll be doing a disservice if we don't talk about the incredible case. I mean, this thing is stunning. It's one of the, after the dial, it's this next thing is the case. It is beautifully dressy, yet a bit sporty at the same time. It is just gorgeous. I mean, we're looking at the lugs here. It's a Condivage lugs, which is a cow horn, I believe, and the case itself is. I would like to just go into a little bit more about the case. How do you get the case as you do, and how thin it is as well?
So for the case, I think my design objective for the case was just to have something unique while complementing the dial. It had to also obviously sit comfortably on my wrist. It had to be something practical. I couldn't just do a full polish because I know it would be scratched by like 5 minutes out the box or something. And I think this point you brought up, like many other collectors, have a lot of straps. I would like to use those straps. So I think that of these points, it's pretty much in order as well of how I would prioritize, right? So the first thing I mentioned was a unique case design while complementing the dial. So these lugs were actually meant to complement the angular features of the dial. Uh, and of course, respecting that it was everything on the inside was domed. And obviously the crystal was double domed as well. So the angular features kind of end up a bit rounded in most angles, like when you see this in person. I experimented with quite a few lugs, sharper ones as well. And these are just kind of what I ended up with. So you mentioned Conde de Vache. It's sort of like a hybrid between Conde de Vache and teardrop lugs. I've heard other names for it, but I'll be honest, I don't know how many of them are actually like just random words people are throwing together. But yeah, so these lugs are, I think the proper term is organically curved, right? They're not your standard angular lugs that you can kind of just make out of a monoblock case. And that brings me to a bit of a spiel that I've put on Reddit because I'm quite passionate about it. This is a modular case construction as opposed to your standard monoblock case construction. For a bit of context, modular cases are essentially cases that are made out of separate pieces that go together and are machined out of different pieces of metal or steel or other metals. And monoblock cases, mono and block, they're made out of a single block of steel. And essentially, you stamp them, or most people machine them nowadays out of a single block. With these lugs, you can actually do organic curves with monoblock cases because you tend to have issues with structural warping. Because of the shape, you have a lot of uneven stressors across the lugs. And then most of the time, we just end up with like misaligned lugs. It just wouldn't be perfect. And that at this size, you kind of need everything to be close to perfect. And that, because of the warping, obviously increasing your failure rate. And it's not just that, you just can't get a clean polish when it's a monoblock case with lugs like these. That's why traditionally, organically curved lugs, they would be machined separately from the case. So you'd have 4 small pieces of metal. They'd be cut out, they'd be polished, finished, whatever. And then everything will be placed into a jig. And then you kind of just weld it onto the case blank. And so this does solve the polishing issue for the most part. The weld joint, they do leave a join line because you're using obviously high heat to bond 2 pieces of steel together. And then because of the high heat as well, you'd have tiny air pits, like gas pits that you can't really buff or polish out. So yeah, it's just, especially under a macro lens, right? Everything just looks a bit messy. And of course, you have a bit of a failure rate on welding as well. Even with a jig, misalignment does happen. But I digress. It's just this modular case. So I'm not sure if I can. Yeah, I can't really show up this, and I don't have 7 pieces. But essentially, what I've done is all 4 lugs are on a separate base plate, which is secured onto the case's midsection using screws, and then it's then sandwiched by the case back underneath. So it's kind of just like like a sandwich, and
So it's
then the lug
It's like a
part is a piece of metal.
3-piece. So it's like a 3-piece construction essentially. So you got the case, and then You've got you got the plate which screwed on to the case, and there's
Exactly.
four screws, and then you got the case back that goes on top on the
Yeah, I
bottom.
think
Sorry,
you
yeah.
can work your podcast and put a graphic on there or something.
We can. We definitely. I mean, I'm looking at obviously these images that Ong has provided for the podcast so that we can see exactly the construction of the watch itself. I mean, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's on the website as
it's
well.
there you go. It is on the website, so we will have the
Yeah.
links so that everyone can follow along at home. And it's awesome. It's so beautiful. And I must say the crown as well. Like one of my pet peeves is crowns that are too small. And I know it's an automatic watch, but it's still nice to have a nice substantial crown when you're, it's this called it gives it more, I don't know why, you can manual wind it with, if you
Yeah.
want to. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm very much in that boat. I like to manually wipe my watches in the morning because with a larger collection, everything's just dead when I want to wear it most of the time. So yeah, I just enjoy the tactile feel of a winding crown. And this one was also inspired by the Moser Endeavor. So there's this one. I think it's been referred to as the Reese's Cup crown as well.
I think I can see why that, and I think it's quite good because I think when you have so many details already, it could be easy to put a crown that's a little bit over the top on there, but it could be very easy to put something that's very simple. But you found like quite a nice balance in between the two. That it's still a feature, but it's also not taking away from the rest of the watch.
Yeah, pretty much. And one thing I would like to bring out is I brought up what a modular case is, why we've chosen it as a solution. I think it's also important to mention that, because I've been told that I should mention this, is the alternating finishing on the case and the engineering that essentially goes into it. Because number one, alternating finishing, it's not something that people would naturally see. So I'm bringing this to the camera again. Essentially, for every dip and change in basically every time the surface is no longer flat, I switch the finishing from polish to brush to polish to brush. And especially towards the top here, it's done in such a discrete way that, well, most people just straight up miss it. And then that carries on to the side here where we swapped the lug base plate and then the bottom as well. So it's just a nice mix of finishing that we've been able to achieve because it's modular. It's a lot easier to do that. And also the fact that it is modular and we've managed to spec it out to sub 10 mil with the 10 ADM water resistance with good finishing, where modular case construction, everything fits together. When they fit together, the tolerances need to be very tight in order to not, you don't want to feel any discernible gap there when you run your finger across it. And I think with that, I'm very happy with the case supplier I've used to achieve this.
That's awesome. I was going to say, is it a particular aesthetic reason why you picked the two different, I guess the the change in finishing as you go through? But just looking at the photos, it looks great. I'm assuming that's the reason. That's the reason why, and also because you can.
I think with those 2 points, you pretty much covered it. Number one, because it does give it a bit more it makes it pop, because obviously the brush kind of it makes it look like there's space behind it, and the polish kind of pushes out. So it looks like it's stacked sort of when you look at it head on. And from the side, then it looks like it's thicker than it actually is. But obviously it's not very thick at all. And the second point, you very rightfully mentioned that just because I can, I wanted to see how much I could do with this first case. And I'm very pleased with what my supplier has managed to do, because we when there was a lot of back and forth between designing this case, just sending the CAD file back and forth until we finally ended with something I was happy with and they could actually make happen. They were confident they could make happen. So yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. Another thing as well, I guess, when we're talking about the case is your straps itself, right? I mean, you have
Yes.
straps. So talk to me about the lugs and how they work with the straps that you have, and also, like you say, other people if they want to swap out straps, and what makes it easy.
By the way, you're doing a very good job at reminding me of the things I'm forgetting to talk about. So thank you.
I mean, it's not our first rodeo, so yeah. Go on.
Let me see. Okay, so I think you can sort of see it in the camera now. We've got one set of lug holes. Is that visible at all? But one set of lug holes, and if you look over here, it is a curved spring bar going into that one set of lug holes. But what I can also do is, there we go. What we can also do is, this is a straight edge spring bar. I can fit it into the exact same set of lug holes that my curved spring bar fit into. So this has now both a straight spring bar and a curved spring bar in the same hole. So I don't really know why no one else is, well, I haven't seen anyone else do this before. Most brands just don't bother. Either they go with straight or curved. And then for like people who want to give the compatibility, they just put two lug holes, one straight, one curved. And I think the reason for that is because they want the curved one, you can sort of sit closer to the case. So there's less of a gap. Whereas with the straight ones, you need to go a bit further away. I'm going to take this out again. In order to solve that problem as well, and still only have one set of lug holes, we've straightened the side of the case just down here. I don't think it's very visible, but on the website you can sort of see it as well, I think. Although I'm not sure I uploaded the pictures, never mind. But essentially the bottom part of the case here is straightened out so that when straight straps get pushed in, they can sit snug against the case. So it still has the versatility of double lug holes, but it's still like you no longer have the issue of accidentally putting stuff in the wrong hole. And no one likes to do that.
I don't think I've seen that at all before. I mean, I'm used to seeing two lug holes, which two sets of lug holes for like you mentioned. So the case itself, just crudely speaking, is you've got a circle, and then at the top and the bottom where the lugs are sort of flattened out so that you can go in closer. But it's not visually apparent. Just the bottom of just the bottom. Okay, so not top. Okay, and you can do this because you have this modular construction.
Well, that one doesn't. You don't need a modular case construction to achieve that. You just need a differently shaped case, which you can easily do with monoblock case as well.
There you go. I think one of the photos that I'm looking at now, I can definitely see that the where it's straight down at the lugs. So, very cool. I love all these little details.
I think on the engineering drawing picture, so on the product page, I'm just pulling it up now. On the product page, if you scroll past the add to cart bit, immediately there's an engineering drawing. You can see the front and side profile of the case, which shows that little lip.
So it doesn't take out the whole bottom edge of the case. It's just the little tiny bit at the base, just enough to let that bar tuck in there.
Exactly.
The little scallop.
Yes. I'm going to pretend I know what that word means.
It's like a...
Yeah. So very cool. I like that. So check out in the pre-order page. You can look at that little detail. Speaking of pre-order, look, let's talk about how I guess people can buy one because I guess a bit of context. When I saw this watch, I fell in love with this watch, and I said, I need one. So I have already placed my order. But for those who would like to, and after watching and listening to this episode, how does one order one of these watches?
So for the pre-orders, we're only doing them off our website. No Kickstarter or anything, just website. But the website address is yuen.watch. So that's YUEN.watch. And it's literally like 2 clicks away, and you can probably just add one to cart and pay. One thing to note is when you try and pay, there's going to be, when you try and add the cart, there's a strap options bit. So with each watch, we're sending out 2 straps, both suede straps, black suede straps with leather backing on the back. And we're offering 2 sizes because, there was just a need. And I thought, why not? There's a standard strap that's 115 and 75 millimeters. So that's for wrists 17 centimeters and above. And there's a tailored strap, which is slightly shorter, and that's for any wrist under 17 centimeters. And the reason I chose that, again, is because my wrist circumference just happens to be 17.
So are ours. So is mine, and so is Praka's, basically.
I think I mentioned just slightly under, I think.
Slightly.
Yeah, but I mean, that kind of reminded me of a really important point that I wanted to make, and I nearly forgot. So thank you for reminding me. So if you go to the website, which I'll have the links for everything, you'll notice that there's actually a series of photos down, if you scroll down the bottom, where you can see the watch being worn on particular wrist size. And this is incredible. You've got a range there. I mean, it's just going all the way from 5.5 all the way up to, I'm just trying to scroll all the way back to the
There's a 4.8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane,
Oh,
the range of sizes you've got there. I mean, up until the 6.7, I'm still going up. There we go. 6.8, 7-inch wrist. And it's so refreshing to be able to see the watch on a wrist size that you can actually go, oh, you know what? That's what it's going to look like on my wrist. And these are real photos. No mock-ups, no touch-ups. These are photos that you've taken, right?
Well, some of them aren't like the ones I've taken. It's what people have taken and then sent to me on WhatsApp or whatever. But yeah, the community gallery we have on our homepage is designed exactly to it's designed to give a feel of how the watch wears on different size wrists. So as you guys mentioned, it goes from 12.3 centimeters, which is insane to me, by the way, that there is a wrist that thin, which is 4.8 inches, all the way up to 22 centimeters, which is 8.7 inches. And yeah, I think the way a watch wears on each person's wrist, I feel like that's a very personal, very subjective thing. Um, but because of this, it's easier to then visualize how it would sit on whatever wrist size you have instead of just trying to guess or putting it through those, what do they call them? Those AI ones where they essentially generate a picture of a watch onto your wrist. And I have no idea how those are even remotely accurate because obviously there's so many factors to consider. But it is.
Yeah. I'm still blown away by this when I first saw this and now as well, just having that. And it's a great way. You know, I think one of the things with Microbrands and I guess buying a watch, pre-ordering a watch, you know, is most of this is done sight unseen. I guess a lot of Microbrand collectors know this, and that's just the reality. But for people that are, you know, sort of dabbling or just trying to figure out, you know, do I actually, you know, how do I want to get into it? And I know a lot of people I've spoken to as well who don't buy watches unless they know exactly how it's going to sit in their wrists. And I think this just gives them a gentle nudge, like don't worry, check, you know, look, you know your wrist size, or you can check your wrist size and you can have a look, and this is how it's going to look on your wrist. So yeah, and it does look really good and on a range of wrist sizes as well. I think just due to the way the case is, and yeah, I don't know much what else I can say there, but it looks really good.
That's good to hear. That's the thing, because when I designed the website, by the way, I say design, I told Regina how to make the website and she made it happen. So kudos to her for that. But when I had the idea for what the website should be like, because I am, you know, first and foremost, still a collector. You know, I still buy way too many watches for my own good. If I had a sign behind me that said, yeah, days since last watch purchase, it would literally just be last night. I just bought the new Terra from Revelo. But yeah, the way I like the things I want to see as a collector from brands, I just kind of put that into my own, like what I do, you know? I feel like that's just a very organic way of ticking the boxes of what people would like to see. And I think based on the feedback we've received on the website of what the watch takes into consideration, you know, just as a package, as a whole, I think we've managed to do that. You know, we've managed to just tick all the boxes that the general collector or person trying to buy a watch would want to have or want to see.
Yeah, well said. Well said. So, you know, I guess I'll just add a little bit more to that is these watches are on pre-order right now for $888 USD, and this is an all-inclusive price. This is DDP, so delivery duties paid. So there's no additional taxes, fees, or anything. This just is the lot. Which is pretty good. It's nice to know exactly what you're paying up front instead of, this additional fees and customs charges that come in after.
Oh yeah, I think for you guys, because you have that customs threshold as well. It was at 1,000 Australian, right?
That's
so
right.
I think this watch just comes just over, and then with the DDP, it just means you order, it'll be at your doorstep with no fuss. You don't have to deal with customs at all. Which again, that's just another thing I want to see as a collector from other brands, because I don't think anyone enjoys sending emails and payments to custom officers. It's like, oh, I bought this watch and I still have to pay for it. It's like, yeah.
And it always ends up being more than you think, because it's not just a tax. I mean, there's a processing fee and a handling fee and a this fee and like, hang on a second.
Yeah, it adds up, and it's sort of a transparency thing, because what we see out there, I see that most brands are making an effort to do DDP to some extent. A lot of them do DDP to the US, and then everyone else in the world, you sort your own shit out. And then some brands, they do DDP everywhere, which is, I believe, where we should be headed. And then some brands, they have the demand, they just don't care. You're like, yeah, deal with the customs, what it is.
Yeah.
Also, see, you got a 3-year warranty as well, which is sort of not the norm, which is really nice to see. Again, something that us as collectors would love to see, and I can see that's why you put that in there as well.
Yeah, it's also because I think I lucked out. I actually got quite lucky with my supply chain in general, and that's inclusive of the service partners I found. So I actually have service partners in quite a few countries. If I pull up a list, where is that list? Oh, there you go. So I have in Malaysia, of course, China, Australia. There's one somewhere in Victoria Harbour, Birmingham. So that's UK. We've got one in Switzerland. We've got one in Portugal. We've got one in the US. So it's just an expansive series of service partners that are able to work on a reliable, relatively simple movement, the Miota. And yeah, it just makes the after sales a lot easier. So not everything has to be shipped back to China, because it's something we obviously don't want to happen at all, but sometimes it is inevitable that you may need servicing. So it's good to have nearby options when it comes about.
Yeah, that's great that you've thought. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to hear the process behind all this stuff, because, I mean, after sales sometimes can be, I guess, an afterthought for a lot of fledgling brands. So I think it's good that you've thought through all this and giving that peace of mind to people as well, that, hey, look, I stand behind what I'm selling. It's not just all the work that's going into the design. It's the product as well. It's the quality of the product and making sure that, at the end of the day, you're getting a quality product, and, things do happen, as they say, but at least you're standing behind it. So kudos to you guys.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, look, I think we've sort of come to the end of our question and sort of answer portion of the podcast. But before we sort of end it and go across to our something interesting section, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the audience? I mean, we will leave all the details of where they can find you and all that in the show notes, so you don't have to repeat that. But yeah, anything else? Any final sort of words?
Nothing, but I think we've actually between the three of us, we've actually covered everything. Like, you guys have very effectively reminded me of everything that I've forgotten, I think. So thank you for that. You've done a great job.
It's
almost
only
as if
because
you've
we're
done this
obsessed
before.
about these things.
Yeah. I mean, I will admit, one thing I forgot to do was to point at my watch. I've been pointing at my watch a lot. You might even call it a watch point. And I'm not sure where I'm going with that, but this pointing at watch, features of a watch points, if you will. It's very dull.
That bag of money will be coming across to you very shortly.
Why is that? Because I brought a watch point, or when I point at a watch and I bring up the watch points.
You pointing
I
at
think-
that watch?
Yeah.
I'm pointing.
I'll
here
point
as
at that
well.
watch too.
Oh
Yeah.
God, maybe I should get like a
we can
little.
talk watch points all day.
We can, right? We can. Yeah. I should put like a little jar here, like as in every time someone says it and whatever, I can just keep, adding
Put it on the
Nickel.
filter mat.
That's it. Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you for proudly, shouting out our sponsors.
why is that? Who's your sponsor?
Watch. I love this. Watch point. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the something interesting section of the podcast. So basically, we discuss something interesting. Either we've come across, we've read, we've watched. Anything could be, pop culture, could be movies, could be music, could be about watches as well. Whatever. There's this, whatever you want. What's your something interesting, Ong?
I guess I've been watching the new Daredevil. Well, the season 2 came out a while ago, but I've only just started having it playing in the background, and it is fantastic. I will admit it has distracted me from some of the work I'm supposed to be doing. Charlie Cox is a brilliant man, a very good looking man as well. It's just a really good. I feel like it's one of the most successful franchises that Disney Marvel, can capitalize on. You've got a good-looking guy, a very good actor as well. But of course, but it's there for the eye candy. Great action scenes, great tone, great plot, great story as well. And then, sorry, I forget. What are we supposed to? Where are we supposed to go with this?
That you can
That's pretty much it.
You can basically keep telling me all about how much you enjoy the show, but yes, that's pretty much it.
And it's one that sort of they've come back to it as well, haven't they? They did a few seasons of Daredevil, and then there was some time off, and now there's sort of same actors, sort of a little bit down the track up, isn't it?
Oh, but maybe because so Daredevil kind of it does well because it right now it really draws parallels to the state of the world, and specifically what the US is like. And I feel like that might be a bit sensitive if I dive into that. Maybe I should talk about food.
Everybody likes food.
Yeah, I feel like you can't go wrong with food. It's a bit more what's the word, inoffensive.
Speaking of food, I'll turn it into something interesting because it wasn't going to be. But I went to a watch store once, and I won't give any more specifics than that. And I was making a video of talking about watches, showing up the watch store, and the person there says, "You really shouldn't be doing watches. You should be doing a food channel. You're much better off doing a food channel."
You look like a food channel kind of guy,
watches.
maybe that was
Nah, don't do watches. Dude, you should switch to food channel.
Was he like a failed watch blogger?
I think he was like a disgruntled by that stage. He'd been in the industry for quite some time, and he was like, "Watches, yeah, they're my living, but you should really go into food."
It's the next big thing, up and coming.
Yeah, it's up and coming. Yeah, you'll catch on.
That's hilarious. I don't know. I think that market's super saturated. Food content
I think so too.
and
It's
food
not
blogging and stuff is it's hard.
You were just telling me about the food content that you consume.
I was telling Ong about how I love watching KL Foodie and Johor Foodie. So these are like Malaysian Instagram accounts just based around food, and it's just incredible. Malaysia is such a hub for food. You talked about nasi lemak before, one of the greatest of all times in Malaysia, and there's just so much. And yeah, it's definitely don't scroll through those videos at night because it just makes you so hungry. And yeah, and being in a place like Perth, Western Australia, you can't just sort of go out and midnight and go for supper and things like that, because it is quite common in Malaysia. You can do things like that. You can go down and go 1 o'clock in the morning and you can go and eat, and it's commonplace to do things like that, but not here. So yeah, very dangerous scrolling.
In all fairness, I think your options are a bit limited, but a bit more limited in the sense that you don't get obviously access to the regular restaurants, but you do get quite a good variety still. If to anywhere else. So.
Definitely. I mean, we are quite central to, I guess around Southeast Asia. So we do get some awesome food, like during the day, not so much the nighttime. Nighttime, your options are limited between Macca's and McDonald's. That's it. That's about it. I will mention something interesting. Sorry, I'm just carrying on about food. I'm big into my coffee. I've probably harped on about that. So Normally, I make pour over at home, which is, I guess, it's quite straightforward. You have your ground coffee and then you put it into a filter and then you pour in water over the top, and that's pretty much it. I use this thing called the V60, which is like a funnel type, I guess, pour over. But I've recently bought this, which is the Y-01. So it's like a flat. I'm gonna try and get that in there. There you go. It's like so it's a flat bottom brewer. Now, I don't know what it is, and I can't quite understand the science behind it all. But my coffee, at least some of the ones that I've tried already, has such a different taste to it. It's sweeter, it's brighter, and I did an experiment where I basically made the exact same coffee, same grind size, same temperature, but two different brewers, and I got two very different coffees. Blew my mind, and I thought I'd share it with the audience.
So a funnel which you place a filter in, but is it the shape of it maybe, or the insulation of it, or the?
I think it's the shape of it, to be honest. So the bottom of those other so the V60, it's like I guess a triangle sort of cone shape, and it comes down to a point. Whereas this one, the bottom of the filter is it's a flat bottom. So yeah, and then it changes how it brews and changes I guess the cup of coffee that you get as well. So, Ong, are you a coffee guy at all?
No, actually not. I only really drink coffee when it's those specialty coffees. When you go somewhere and then they're known for that coffee, no, then I'll have it. Otherwise, over here, for example, I don't have it in the morning. I just drink milk, lots of it. And I think when we go to stores, you get I don't know what you call it in English. It's just you call it tam. It's basically a mix of tea and coffee. And the coffee is sort of white coffee. So it ends up being this nice little blend of coffee and tea, and then they put a bit of sweetener and milk in it. And it's just a nice drink to have warm, hot, cold. But yeah, otherwise, no, not really.
I think I've heard about that drink before. I think my parents would have had it when they were in Malaysia, but super cool. I'll find a link for that and chuck it in the show notes so people can check it out themselves.
Check it down.
Yeah, that's it. Come to the end of the episode. Really appreciate your time, going through your design process and I guess being very candid about it as well. We're not trying to pull some, far-fetched story of how you gotten to where you gotten. It was very much I wanted to design my watch this way and I did it this way, and going through it. So it's refreshing, I feel, to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like since you brought up candidacy, is that the noun for it? What's the noun for candid? No?
I'm not sure. It's a good question.
This is not a language podcast.
I'm just gonna Google it. Hold on. Noun candid. Candidness? Candidity. No. Candidity.
Candidness?
Oh yeah. Candidness and candidity. Or candid.
My mother would be
No, but I think
disappointed. She's
candid is a
an
different
English major.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, candid. Yeah. So in that regard, I feel like that is something very much I want to focus on, candor, transparency. But ironically, I haven't actually mentioned one of the big things. Is it too late to bring it up now, by the way? Sorry.
No, absolutely not. Go ahead. No, of course.
All right. But towards in the vein of candor and all that, one of the things I feel like is often obfuscated or just obscured is country of origin, that sort of thing. And being an engineer, now a brand owner, I know very well what the state of Chinese manufacturing is. Every part of the Y-01 is manufactured in China, except for the movement, which is Japanese, and the crystal, which is, depending on my supplier, either German or Polish, just because for those parts, the Chinese alternatives just weren't as good, in my opinion. But they're getting there. To me, I have no issue straight up saying that my watch is Chinese. Dude, I'm Chinese, man. Okay, maybe that's not the best example of something, that's Chinese and good, but that's beside the point. It's just, I don't like to play game. Yeah. I like to say things as they are, kind of just, say it like you see it, right? And say things as they are. And Chinese watches are probably in the best state they've ever been in, and that's only going to keep improving as their scaling capacities and quality as well improves. So I don't know where I'm going with this tirade. I'll be honest. I just
No,
kind of
no,
wanted to start at candor and transparency, and here we are.
I think the whole idea of everything from China is cheap is certainly starting to go out the door. People aren't fixated on that anymore. It's still kind of in the back of people's minds, but I think people are now quite really understanding that the quality is also coming out of China. There's everything. There is cheap products from China, but there's also very high-end products coming out of China, and watches, especially over the last few years, have just run ahead in quality, especially in the more affordable range and mid-range. And you can see they're taking the technologies that they've used in more expensive watches, and they've got the same processes there. We know all these big, huge companies around the world manufacture in China, not just because they're cheaper to manufacture there, but that's where the experts are. That's where the manufacturing is. That's where the industry is. So why would you not manufacture something there that is going to be manufactured better and a little bit cheaper? So, and I know this crowd that listen to this kind of podcast certainly is not going to have any issues with something being manufactured in China, and the people that do probably won't be listening to us.
Just to add to that as well, and it's not even necessarily that it is cheaper. In a lot of cases, there's, I can't remember who it was. Some CEO of some company was basically saying, we're not doing this because it's cheaper. We're doing this because they have all the processes, they have all the manufacturing scalability, they have all the machinery, they have the expertise. Everything is here. Why would we go elsewhere when
I think it was Apple
here?
that said that, or something very similar
That's
to
it.
that.
It was, yes, that's right. I think it was Apple. Yeah, you're right. But anyway, it's always good to remind people that that is the case. So thank you for being candid. For your
What's the noun for that?
Candidness. Thanks for your candidness. Well, no, thanks. That was good. I like that. I really like that.
We'll start doing some Duolingo lessons or something halfway through next time.
Sounds good.
Just crossed my mind.
But
We
wait,
should
there's
probably
more.
mention that. Yeah, there is more. We should probably mention that this is a precursor to James receiving the watch, right? Do we bring that up?
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
really looking forward to receiving it, and I'm going to be showing it off as much as I can on every format that I have available, because I want people to see this watch beyond the sharing on Instagram, beyond the website. I always strive with my videos for my YouTube channel to try and really show watches in different lighting environments, different locations, and just so you can, I always say to people, even if you don't like listening to me, turn the sound off and just look at the pictures, because I'm trying to show you the watch the best I can on video, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing with your watch, and I'm so excited to get hands-on with it, and I'll be getting that out very quickly. I'll be putting a heap of effort into it, so I'm looking forward to sharing that with everybody out there.
I've just had a look
Yeah,
at
cool.
tracking as well, actually. Not
Ooh,
even
where is it? Where is it?
So
Should I go check my
for
front door?
context, Praka, I've been talking with James because this is a prototype that I sent to him just to do the review, right? And it landed in South Australia this morning, I think at like 4 a.m. It went all the way to New South Wales to get processed. It's now back in South Australia. I don't know where this is because who knows anything about South Australia really. And then,
Sorry
obviously
to
we
my
know
South
that
Australian
James
listeners.
isn't anywhere.
It's a few days drive from here.
Yeah, few days exactly. That's. I mean, I'm not. What do you call it? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. The state of shipping within Australia can be a bit hectic. That happens
I know
more
my-
often than you think.
My brother works in the postal service, and he just says there's mountains of packages. Ever since COVID happened, even before that it was bad, but now it's just mountains of things. So it's amazing that anything gets here, to be honest.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'm equally as excited to check out the prototype, and of course, like I said, I've loved wanted to get the watch as soon as I've seen all the photos, and I've committed to my to this watch as well with my own money, just because of how much I believe in this watch and how cool it is. And I guess the hardest decision for me is yet to pick the exact color that I want, and it's a subtle foreshadowing, or not really subtle foreshadowing, is my background lighting was the color that I picked, and I think this will be the color that I change to. So anyway, which is purple and red. So we'll see what I pick when the time comes.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's still going to change, man. From the way you've been
Actually, can I
talking
get the
about
green?
it,
Oh, actually, can I get
don't
this?
seem sure.
Look at
that. You've made it really hard. You've made it really hard. I don't know what color I want. You just made it too hard. But
Oh,
yeah,
I
no.
suppose I could have mentioned it as well. Like when I chose these colors, I also did intentionally make them irresistible to myself, and as a result, they seem to be irresistible to others as well. And yeah.
Are you gonna have a collection of one of each, sort of sitting there ready to go?
For myself, yeah, I will be purchasing like a set for myself, and then obviously I'll need a set for like a show. Like for example, we're exhibiting the first show we're exhibiting at will be Spring this November.
And I'm going to see you there because that's my plans to come along there as well. So that'll be nice.
I'm looking forward to that. That would be fun. But yeah, they are intentionally irresistible because I don't know if you guys noticed. Sometimes there's those collections where they release like a brand releases a series of watches, and then you sort of end up with a dud color or maybe two, where you just sort of you wouldn't know, like you would never just touch it, go near it with a 10-foot pole, right? And sometimes if it's unfortunate enough the case, everyone else feels the same way. So I wanted to make sure that I had no dud colors where everyone is just like, no, ew, why? And that I think that has probably contributed to the fact that now everyone's just indecisive about what to go with.
Yeah, you definitely haven't made it easy for me, and I guess everyone else as well. So it's a good problem. It's a good problem to have. You just
yeah. I mean, worst case, just buy more. If you come aside.
Well, if that's not endorsement enough, I don't know what is. I think we're gonna wrap it up there, and I think this won't be the last time that we'll hear you on the podcast as well. I think I would love to have a little follow up. Don't know when, maybe in a couple of months' time or something, when we've had some hands-on time with the watches, once we've received it, once we've gotten the watches, and yeah, I think it would be nice to hear a bit more about the watch, and once we've had a time on it, and maybe your upcoming stuff, your future stuff, because I know this is not your one and only.
Well, yeah. All I can say is, I am mid-prototyping the Y-02. So that's all I can say. That's all I will say.
There you go. All right. Well, in that cliffhanger, we'll leave it there. So thank you so much, Og, for your time. And and all the best for the Y-01. And we will speak to you soon.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure. And I promise to say watch point more in the next one.
Good.
Sorry, what's Watch Point again? The sponsor of this video. Thanks to Watch Point.
I'll have a running counter second or something next time. Every time you say something, I can just press it and see how high we can get it up. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll leave it right there. Cheers. Thank you for listening to Overtime the Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. You can find us on our Instagram at Overtime the Podcast, at Kinda Average Watches, or flick me an email on overtimethepod@gmail.com. I appreciate your support and value your feedback. If you have any questions, suggestions, or topics that you would like the podcast to cover in the future, please hit us up. Until next time.